Everyone knows Dunkirk saved the army. Nobody talks about the 3 weeks it took to lose the war first. May the 10th, 1940. Germany invades the Low Countries, and the British Expeditionary Force does something that sounds almost unbelievable now. It marches forwards into Belgium to meet the Germans head on. This was the plan. Allied commanders believed the main German blow would come exactly where it had in 1914, through Belgium's flat, open country. France had spent the 1930s building the Maginot Line, a fortress wall along its border with Germany, but it stopped where the Ardennes forest began, because everybody agreed tanks could not get through the dense woodland and narrow roads. The plan, codenamed Plan D, was to let the fortifications hold the south, while the BEF and the best French armies raced into Belgium to meet the German attack in the open. It was elegant. It was also completely wrong. The BEF, nearly 400,000 men, advanced into Belgium alongside French and Belgian armies just as large, dug in along a river called the Dial, and waited for the fight everybody expected. But the real German attack wasn't coming through Belgium at all. It was coming through a forest the Allies had written off as impassable to tanks, the Ardennes. And on the 10th of May, 7 panzer divisions were already moving through it. 3 days later, on the 13th of May, German tanks reached the Meuse River at Sedan. Deep behind the Allied front, the BEF was marching towards. The French defence here was thin, and it broke almost immediately. German armour, led by a general named Heinz Guderian, didn't stop to consolidate. It kept moving, in a manoeuvre historians would later call the Schnitzelschnitt, a sickle cut, a name popularised after the war by Winston Churchill, not coined by the German planners themselves. Straight through the Allied rear. By the time anybody in Allied High Command understood what was happening, German armour was already pouring through the gap, wheeling not east, but west and north, straight for the coast, straight for the rear of every Allied soldier standing in Belgium. The trap wasn't sprung all at once. It closed like a noose, day by day, while the BEF was still fighting a battle that no longer mattered. On the 21st of May, the British tried to cut the noose. At Arras, a scratch force of 2 infantry battalions and about 70 tanks, many of them heavily armoured Matilda, hit the southern flank of the German advance. For a few hours, it worked. German anti-tank shells bounced off the Matilda's armour, and Rommel himself, commanding the division on the receiving end, reported he'd been attacked by 5 divisions. Many times the force actually facing him. It was one of those few moments in the entire campaign that seriously rattled German command. Had it succeeded, the Arras attack might have reopened a corridor south, a chance to reconnect the armies before the gap widened any further. It didn't get the chance. The counterattack was too small, too late, to close a corridor that was already about 25 miles wide, and widening by the day. The day before the Arras attack, on the 20th of May, German spearheads had already reached the Channel coast near Abbeville. The BEF, the French First Army, and what remained of the Belgian army were now cut off from the rest of France, sealed into a shrinking pocket with their backs to the sea. On the 28th of May, King Leopold III surrendered the Belgian army. He warned Allied commanders it was coming just a day earlier, but there was almost no time to react. and the Allied line's northern flank tore open regardless. The BEF had marched into Belgium to save it. Now it was retreating out of it, alone. Lord Gort, commanding the BEF, made the decision that saved the army. Rather than obey orders to attack south and reopen a corridor to the rest of France, he turned his force to the coast instead. This is the line that decided it, the pocket that closed around the coast from Gravelines to Ypres to the sea, trapping the British and French armies inside a shrinking triangle of channel ports, with the only way out behind them, not in front. And that triangle had one town left inside it with a working harbour, Dunkirk. Over the next 9 days, a mixed force of British, French and Belgian troops held a shrinking perimeter under constant air attacks, buying just enough time for the ships to keep coming. 338,000 men would be lifted off those beaches, not because the army had won, but because it had spent 3 weeks losing the battle everyone forgot happened first. Dunkirk is remembered as a miracle, but the real story isn't the boats. It's the 3 weeks before them. A British army that marched confidently into the wrong war, and paid for it in a race it very nearly lost. So next time somebody tells you Dunkirk was a triumph, ask them what happened 3 weeks earlier. If stories like this, the ones everyone thinks they know but don't, are your thing, subscribe. There's a war fought in the margins behind almost every single battle you already think you understand.